Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Interesting little video today. And I'm going to try to keep it short. I'm going to show you a Facebook post that I did yesterday, last night. And I put on January 14th, I put electricity on my bedroom doorknob to stop home invasion, and a Landman attorney died of surprise heart failure. 2 weeks later, boom. Okay, so yesterday was January 14th, of course, 2020. But in 2012, 2 weeks before that, I was ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut in a home invasion, premeditated capital murder attempt. I had put electricity on my bedroom doorknob. And the reason I did that is because I recognized somebody was inside my home and they were trying to come in my bedroom. I was worried that they were going to kick out my door and kill me, like I believe happened to Mike Lawhon. And so, anyways, I got to ask this question. I'm going to name this video that. Did you kill someone, buddy? Chesney Rose asked that. And so I just I wrote that, and then I copied and pasted it, and I made a whole new Facebook post up here just on that one question here. Did you kill somebody, buddy? And I replied, I said, 14 months before my first call for a burglary on January 14, 2012, it's believed that a young Landman attorney named Matt Hyman and his friends sneaked into my home from the underground entrance to kill me, but I figured out that I was under a home invasion and I stopped them. I call this the first murder attempt, and it may have been retribution since I had just tear gassed my attic a few days earlier. I had already guessed that the previous owner, Mike Lawhon, had died here after somebody kicked in the back door and injected him with a fatal dose of Darvacet and took him to Fort Worth. I quickly built a safe room by placing a live electricity on my bedroom doorknob, trying to stop that from happening to me. That was in that video y'all seen I had posted. And obviously this saved my life, but it looks like Matt grabbed my doorknob and was electrocuted there in my hallway without me knowing it. It makes sense that his friends saw this happen and they made the choice to let their friend die so they didn't get arrested. Okay, I believe that Matt would be alive today if they had immediately started CPR and called 911 for an ambulance. Oftentimes people that have been electrocuted can be brought back because electricity stops the heart, but it also restarts it. The criminals involved in the crimes here then needed to come up with some lie to try and explain why a healthy 33-year-old man with no known heart condition had died. It was said that his widow, Leslie, was the only witness to his surprise death. She goes on to marry Brian Hillman, who was one of Matt's friends who had threatened me in a desperate attempt to stop me from asking questions about his death. The other one was a guy named Chris Mertz. I also saw where CBS 7 made a special news video explaining why Matt died. This is one of the local news stations who has hidden the crimes here from the public. And I'm talking about the secret police, first known secret police since Nazi Germany, a homeowner offering, a reward to identify police never happened before in the history of America. Proof of faked x-rays. Multiple people documented saying underground homes are here, including a recent candidate for sheriff, and on and on and on and on. I mean, the press here, and I'm shot reporting burglar alarms going off in my attic, and now homeowners all over Midland, Odessa have been reporting people in the attic, and the city of Midland says nobody has ever reported anybody in the attic in the last 10 years. These are news stories that have been hidden from the public, from the and by our news station. But here, this one, CBS 7, makes a special video about Matt Hyman trying to explain away his young death, and I think he died in my hallway. Okay, and so I said, this was suspicious in itself, as it seems our press has been a party to trying to cover up the widespread racketeering and crimes going on here. It's one thing I've struggled with. I've known for a long time that just one news story would stop these crimes. You just show the evidence. Show all these other homeowners reporting people in the attic after I'm ambushed and shot, Let the public listen to the sheriff candidate Joe Lozano tell me that Gary Painter used to hang out in these underground homes here. And the other half dozen people that said they were here, Let the public know, I've wondered if Matt's friends were involved in the pre-planned murder attempt on my life 2 weeks later, exactly 2 weeks later to the day, when I was ambushed and shot during another home invasion. Maybe revenge was also a motive for murder, okay? And so here's the CBS 7 video I'm going to show you here in a minute. And then I followed that up with a few comments, okay? and the first one here, I just copy and pasted. Already guessed that the previous owner had died here after somebody kicked in the back door and injected him with a fatal dose. That's the Mike Lawhon story, okay? This picture was taken on October 1st, 2008, when I first looked at this home with my realtor, Janine Pruitt. I was transferring into town as a 25-year company man. And as you can see, the back door was fine at this time, but 28 days later, Perkins Brazier, the home inspector, and myself would find where the doorknob had been kicked out. I believe this happened on the 12th when Mike Lawhon died. This is what I was concerned about was going to happen to me, which is why I put electricity on my bedroom doorknob that night. Maybe those landmen know something about Mike Lawhon's death. And that's what I'm showing here. When I looked, the realtor took me around to look at homes. I took this picture and I happened to get a picture of the back door and it was fine. But here on the home inspection report, 28 days later, there was a hole in the laundry room door, okay? And that's the laundry room there. And somebody had kicked out that back door there to the garage there. And I believe it happened on the 12th when Matt Hyman died. And of course, the oil show started the next week on the 20th. You know, I didn't add that in there, but you know, I think that was a factor. Okay, it's said that his widow, Matt Hyman's widow, Leslie, was the only witness to his surprise death. She goes on to marry Brian Hillman, who was one of Matt's friends that had threatened me in a desperate attempt to stop me from asking questions about his death. The other one was Chris Mertz, okay? So this is a private message from Brian Hillman, and he's a landman. See, I've long suspected that landmen are connected to the parties, to the oil show parties, the underground oil show party, and where the little girl was murdered at in 2010. And so Brian here writes me, you know, he's not your guy. This is my wife's late husband. That's where I found out Leslie Reed Hyman, you know, had married Brian Hillman, you know. I can assure you none of this happened. I suggest taking this down before I pursue legal action, okay? And so he's threatening to sue me for asking questions, right? And my wife was with him when he died. That's what I'm saying, that she was the only witness to this 33-year-old man's surprise heart failure, you know? And I seen his autopsy, take this down, there were a lot of innocent brothers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and he makes a point about CBS 7. I thought that was interesting. You could see the story about the cause of death. It was arrhythmia. My wife started a push for different types of testing on high school athletes. There's a news story I'm sure you'll find on CBS 7. So that's got to prove it, you know. And it's CBS 7 that's hid the secret police from the public, right? CBS 7 that hid, you know, multiple people saying that there's underground homes here. You know, they've hid from the public all these homeowners reporting people in the attic after I'm ambushed and shot, reporting to somebody in the attic, you know. And I write him back and I'm kind and nice, you know, and you know, and I'm telling about this little girl's murder. I'm not interested in your rhetoric bullshit. This is him talking. I'm interested in you taking stuff down. Has nothing to do with what happened to you. The only threat you're going to receive from me will be legal. Okay, so you can tell Brian Hillman threatened me in a desperate attempt to stop me from asking questions. Okay, and because what happened is after I survived the murder attempt, premeditated murder attempt, I remembered that happened 2 weeks, and I went looking at the obituaries, and I found where Matt Hyman had died, and he was a young man, you know. But I didn't know if he had died here or if he died in a plane crash, you know. And so I started asking questions, you know, how did he die? Where did he die, you know? Oh, he died of a surprise heart failure nobody knew he had. Just boom, 1 minute he's alive, next minute he's dead, you know. And, you know, and I'm putting it all together, and it's like, and then these guys are desperate to stop me from asking questions, and that just throws up all kinds of red flags that, you know, just further convince me Matt died in my home, you know. Just the fact CBS 7 making this video, you know, I mean, it's not, I don't see them as a purveyor of truth and honesty, you know, or trying to stop crimes here, you know. I mean, I've had so many crimes here, it's just crazy, you know. The other landman that threatened me was Chris Mertz, who used to work for my company, DCP Midstream, okay? We called them ROW, right-of-way agents, but they were landmen. And here, more print screen, Brian Hillman again. You're barking up the wrong tree. I suggest you take this down, read the private message, which I did to you already. And Maria's like, she's reading this. She's going, are they always threatening you like this, buddy? You know? And then here's Chris Mertz here on the bottom, says, calling me crazy, doesn't support your craziness. That's the first sign of somebody involved in the crimes, right? Because obviously that, you know, the crimes are crazy, but I'm sure not, you know. And I worked across the desk from you. Don't say I don't know. I worked with you the day you shot yourself. you would have answered for it like a man, face to face. You got the balls, the crazy stuff. You need to accept the consequences. So I mean, I take that as just a threat against a disabled, crime victim right there, and tampering with a witness on top of that, because I'm the witness of a capital attempted murder. I'm the victim. Okay. Interestingly, Chris Mertz and the other landmen who worked for my company reported up to our commercial group, and a former director of our commercial group was Ken Slager, who used to live across the street from my home. His group took care of our booth at the oil show every year. Let that sink in. Our company oil show. My company, big gas company, Duke ConocoPhillips, right? We have a big booth at the oil show. These are the oil show that's having the parties, the famous parties going on. Everybody knows about them, right? And that's where I believe that little girl was murdered at in 2010. Okay, and I believe landmen are connected to it. Well, one of our landmen was threatening me. His group took care of booth. Ken knows something. I believe Ken knows something about the underground homes where the oil show parties were held, which is in my backyard, And I remember Ken Slager telling me some different things. This is from the appraisal district showing the ownership of the house, and she doesn't live there no more. Marilyn DeLuigi, that's who told me twice Mike died in my house, and then she said somebody else died here before him, and there's Ken Slager right there, and that I used to work with, okay? And you see he sold that house in July 2006, and before Marilyn moved there. And so, anyways, here, we're going to play the video and shut this off here.
A Midland woman is warning people to get tested after her husband died of sudden cardiac death. What is it? And how do you diagnose it before it's too late? CBS 7's Felicia Bolton has her emotional story of prevention. Felicia?
Leslie Hyman says her husband was completely healthy, but within minutes he passed away of a heart problem they never knew he had. Leslie Hyman is living a new life after her 33-year-old husband, Matthew Hyman, passed away earlier this year of sudden cardiac death.
Really hard. Matt was very, very hands-on. Amazing daddy. When my daughter misses her dad, when my daughter tells me, I miss my daddy, and having to tell her that she wasn't going to get to see her dad again. He was my very best friend.
She says Matthew was healthy and had no signs of an illness, but within minutes he died on their bathroom floor of sudden cardiac death, an illness they never knew he had.
Just told me he wasn't feeling well. He felt a little sick to his stomach, and then he was gone. The autopsy report said it was an arrhythmia, an irregular heartbeat.
After Matthew died, she checked his medical history, and he was never tested for heart problems. Now she's warning people to get tested because it could save their life.
I guess I just want people to be aware that you can be walking around and have something going on with you, and just to be proactive with your own health and not wait for a doctor to run tests, not wait till you have a reason to do them, but just to do them to make sure you're okay.
Through help and support of her family and friends, she and her children are able to survive. She says they're living each day to make Matthew proud and sharing his story to keep others from losing a loved one. To see if you could suffer from sudden cardiac death, ask your doctors to run a heart test during your next visit. In the newsroom, Felicia Bolton, CBS 7 News.
And don't be breaking into private homes, I think that would also be a good suggestion there. Anyway, this is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. This has to be investigated. Multiple murders, murder of the little girl. Remember, the remains of a little girl were found outside of Midland in 2013. And my friend Angie told me about a young girl who was murdered at an oil show party in 2010. I believe that oil show party had a lot of landmen there. And then the previous homeowner of my home dies the week before the 2008 oil show started. I got a feeling a lot of landmen were at that party too. This is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.